Hello everyone, welcome to Fluent English. We're so happy you're here with us today. If you're trying to sound more natural when you speak English, you've picked the perfect episode. Today we're talking about three little words that cause big confusion for English learners everywhere: allow, let, and permit. They all seem to mean the same thing, right? Well, not exactly. Native speakers choose one over the others depending on the situation, the relationship between the people, and even how formal the conversation is.
Hey everyone, it's great to have you here. I can't tell you how many times I've heard someone say something like, "My teacher permitted me go home," or "My mom allowed me borrow the car." They're close, but they're not quite right. The good news is that once you understand the patterns, you'll stop guessing and start speaking with confidence.
Absolutely, and don't worry if you've mixed them up before. Honestly, almost every English learner does. I remember helping a friend prepare for a job interview, and every time he wanted to say, let, he'd use permit instead. The sentences were grammatically close, but they sounded way too formal for a casual conversation.
That's what today's lesson is all about. We'll show you how Americans actually use these verbs in everyday conversations. You'll learn when to say let, when allow sounds better, and when permit is the perfect choice. We'll also cover common mistakes, natural expressions, and plenty of real-life examples that you can start using today.
By the end of this episode, you'll be able to choose the right word without stopping to think. You'll sound smoother, more confident, and much more natural whether you're talking with friends, coworkers, teachers, or even during an interview.
Before we jump in, we'd love to hear from you. Which one confuses you the most? Allow, let, or permit? Tell us in the comments. We read your comments all the time, and they help us create future lessons that answer your biggest questions.
And if you're enjoying learning English with us, don't forget to like this video, subscribe to Fluent English, and share it with a friend who's learning English too. Every lesson is designed to help you speak confidently in real life, not just pass a grammar test.
All right, grab a notebook if you'd like, get ready to practice out loud, and let's dive into today's lesson.
Let's start with the big picture. The words allow, let, and permit all express the idea of giving someone permission, but they're not interchangeable in every situation. Think of them as three different levels of formality.
Exactly. Let is the most common and casual. Allow is a little more formal but still very common in everyday English. Permit is the most formal and usually appears in official situations, written rules, announcements, or legal language.
Here's an easy way to remember them. Let equals casual conversation. Allow equals everyday standard English. Permit equals formal English. If you remember that simple idea, you're already ahead of many learners.
Now let's look at the grammar because that's where many people make mistakes. The first pattern is subject plus let plus person plus base verb. For example, my parents let me stay up late. Notice there's no to before stay.
That's one of the biggest grammar rules today. After let, we use the base verb, not to stay, just stay. Listen again. My parents let me stay up late. My boss let me leave early. They let us use their kitchen.
Here are a few more examples. My friend let me borrow his bike. The teacher let the students leave 5 minutes early. My sister lets her dog sleep on the couch. Can you let me know when you arrive? That last one is interesting because let me know is a very common expression. Americans say it all the time.
Great point. If someone says, let me know, they're simply asking you to tell them something later. For example, let me know if you need help. Let me know what you think. Let me know when you're home. You'll hear this phrase everywhere.
Now let's move to allow. The grammar changes slightly. The structure is subject plus allow plus person plus to plus verb. Notice the word to. My parents allowed me to stay up late. My boss allowed me to leave early. They allowed us to use the meeting room.
See the difference? Let me stay, allow me to stay, that tiny word to changes everything. Many learners accidentally say, they allowed me go. That's incorrect. The correct sentence is, they allowed me to go.
Let's practice together. I'll say a sentence with let and then change it to allow. They let me leave early. They allowed me to leave early. My parents let me drive. My parents allowed me to drive. The coach let us practice. The coach allowed us to practice.
Nice, now it's your turn. Say these out loud. They let me watch TV. Now change it. They allowed me. Can you finish it? That's right. They allowed me to watch TV. Speaking out loud helps your brain remember these patterns much faster.
Here's another situation. Imagine you're visiting a friend's house. Your friend says, my parents let everyone swim in the pool. That's natural. If you're reading the community rules at an apartment complex, you might see, Residents are allowed to use the pool until 10 p.m. Same basic idea. Different level of formality.
Now let's introduce permit. The grammar is almost the same as allow. The structure is subject plus permit plus person plus to plus verb. Examples. The school permits students to use laptops. The museum doesn't permit food inside. The company permits employees to work from home.
Notice something interesting. You probably wouldn't tell your best friend, I permit you to sit here. That sounds strange. Instead, you'd naturally say, you can sit here. Or, I'll let you sit here.
Exactly, permit often sounds official. You'll see it on signs. No parking permitted. Smoking isn't permitted. Pets are not permitted. Hotels, airports, government buildings, schools, and businesses often use permit because it sounds more formal.
Let's compare all three. Casual, my dad let me borrow the car. Neutral, my dad allowed me to borrow the car. Very formal, my dad permitted me to borrow the car. Is the last sentence wrong? No. But most Americans wouldn't say it during a casual conversation.
Native speakers usually choose words based on the situation, not just the dictionary meaning. That's why learning real conversation is so important. If you only memorize vocabulary lists, you might know what a word means, but not when people actually use it.
Let's imagine 3 different situations. Situation 1, you're talking to your best friend. I'll let you use my headphones. Perfect. Situation 2, a teacher speaks to parents. We allow students to bring water bottles. Very natural. Situation 3, a sign at a concert venue. Outside food isn't permitted. Again, exactly what you'd expect.
Here's a quick memory trick. When you're chatting with family or friends, think let. When you're speaking politely or writing normal English, think allow. When you're reading rules or official documents, think permit. Simple, right?
Let's make it even more practical. Imagine these conversations. Friend, can I borrow your charger? You answer, sure, I'll let you use it. Teacher, the school allows students to wear jackets. Airport announcement. This area doesn't permit unauthorized visitors. Each sentence fits the situation naturally.
Here's another tip. Sometimes learners try to replace every let with allow because they think longer words sound smarter. Actually, native speakers often do the opposite. Simple words usually sound more natural. Don't be afraid to say let. Americans use it every single day.
That's so true. If someone says, my parents let me travel alone, it sounds completely natural. If they say, my parents permitted me to travel alone, people understand it, but it sounds unusually formal for everyday conversation.
Now let's look at negative forms because they're just as important. With let, we say, my parents didn't let me stay out late. My teacher didn't let us use our phones. With allow, my parents didn't allow me to stay out late. The company doesn't allow smoking. With permit, the restaurant doesn't permit outside food. The library doesn't permit loud conversations.
Notice again that allow and permit keep the to before the verb. They didn't allow me to enter. The guard didn't permit us to park there. But with let, they didn't let me enter. No to.
Let's do one more quick practice together. Finish these sentences out loud. My parents let me. They allowed me to. The school doesn't permit. There are many correct answers, so be creative. After you're done, write one of your sentences in the comments. We'd love to read what you come up with, and it's a great way to practice using today's lesson in real life.
Before we move on, here's the quick summary. Let is casual and uses the base verb. Allow is neutral and uses to plus verb. Permit is formal and also uses to plus verb. Master these 3 patterns first, and everything else we'll cover in today's lesson will become much easier.
Now that we've covered the basic patterns, let's build on them by looking at how these 3 verbs change depending on the situation. This is where your English starts to sound more natural because native speakers don't choose words randomly. They choose the word that matches the relationship, the setting, and even the tone of the conversation.
That's right, think about it this way. If you're talking to your little brother, you're probably going to use let. If you're speaking to a customer or writing an email at work, allow often sounds better. And if you're reading company policies or government rules, you'll probably see permit instead.
Let's compare the same idea in 3 different situations. Imagine your friend wants to borrow your laptop. You could say, sure, I'll let you use it. That sounds relaxed and friendly. Now imagine you're a manager explaining office rules. Our company allows employees to work remotely on Fridays. That sounds professional without being too formal. Finally, imagine you're reading a notice at a museum. Photography isn't permitted in this gallery. That's exactly the kind of language you'd expect to see.
Notice how the meaning stays almost the same, but the feeling changes. That's one of the biggest secrets to sounding like a native speaker. Grammar matters, but choosing the right level of formality matters just as much.
Let's look at another example. A parent might say, I don't let my kids stay up after 10. A school handbook might say, students aren't allowed to leave campus during lunch. An airport security sign might say, unauthorized access isn't permitted. Same idea, permission, but three very different situations.
Here's something interesting. Americans usually prefer simple words in conversation. Instead of saying, I permitted my friend to borrow my phone, most people would naturally say, I let my friend borrow my phone. Short, simple, and completely natural.
Exactly. Sometimes learners think using longer words makes their English sound more advanced. Actually, native speakers often sound more natural because they choose the simpler option. That's why you'll hear let hundreds of times every day.
Let's try a quick challenge. I'll describe a situation and you decide which verb sounds best. Ready? You're talking to your best friend. You say, I'll you drive my car. The answer is, let. I'll let you drive my car.
Here's another one. A teacher is explaining a classroom rule. We students to use dictionaries during the test. The best answer is, allow. We allow students to use dictionaries during the test.
One more, you're reading a sign outside a swimming pool. Glass bottles aren't. The answer is, permitted. Glass bottles aren't permitted.
Great job! If you got those right, you're already starting to think like a native speaker instead of simply translating from your first language.
Now let's talk about something learners often overlook. Sometimes these verbs don't just express permission. They can also express freedom or opportunity. For example, my schedule lets me finish work early on Fridays. Nobody is giving permission here. Your schedule simply makes something possible.
That's a fantastic point. Here's another example. This new phone lets me edit videos much faster. Again, the phone isn't giving permission. It gives you the ability to do something. You'll hear this kind of sentence all the time. My job lets me travel. This app lets you order food in seconds. The remote lets you control the TV from anywhere in the room.
Notice how natural those sound. Now let's compare that with allow. This app allows users to edit photos. The software allows customers to track their orders. These are also common, especially when describing features or services.
So what's the difference? When people are chatting casually, they'll often say, this app lets you edit photos. If they're writing a website description or a product guide, they'll probably write, this app allows users to edit photos. Same meaning. Different style.
That's why you'll often see allow in advertisements, product descriptions, and business presentations. For example, our platform allows businesses to communicate with customers more efficiently. That sounds polished and professional.
But if your friend recommends the same app, they might simply say, this app lets you talk to customers really easily. See how much more conversational that feels.
Let's act out a few real-life conversations. I'll be the customer. Excuse me, can I bring my coffee inside?
Sorry, we don't allow drinks in this area.
That sounds polite and natural. Now let's make it more casual. Hey, can I borrow your headphones?
Yeah, I'll let you use them.
Perfect. Now here's a formal situation. May visitors enter this office?
Only employees are permitted to enter.
That's exactly the kind of sentence you might hear in a government building or read on a sign.
Here's another everyday conversation. My parents finally let me stay home alone. My landlord doesn't allow pets. Parking isn't permitted after midnight. Three different situations, three natural choices.
Let's make it a little more interactive. I'll give you the situation and you say the sentence out loud. You're talking to your younger sister. She asks, can I play your video game? How would you answer? Hopefully you said, I'll let you play.
Now imagine you're the principal of a school. Parents ask whether students can bring snacks. You could say, we allow students to bring healthy snacks.
Now imagine you're designing a sign for a hospital. The sentence could be, visitors aren't permitted after 9 p.m. That's exactly the kind of formal language hospitals often use.
Here's another useful tip. Listen to the people around you in English movies, TV shows, podcasts, or YouTube videos. Pay attention every time you hear let, allow, or permit. Ask yourself, why did the speaker choose that word? Doing this trains your ears to notice patterns naturally.
That's one of the fastest ways to improve. Instead of memorizing long grammar rules, you begin noticing how real people actually speak. Over time, choosing the correct word becomes automatic.
Here's another practice activity. I'm going to read 3 sentences. Decide which one sounds the most natural for everyday American English. Number 1. My mother permitted me to watch television. Number 2. My mother allowed me to watch TV. Number 3. My mom let me watch TV.
If you're talking about an ordinary conversation with your family, the third sentence is definitely the most natural. My mom let me watch TV. The second one is also correct. The first one isn't wrong, but it sounds much more formal than most Americans would use in daily conversation.
Here's another comparison. Our company lets employees work from home. Our company allows employees to work from home. Our company permits employees to work from home. All 3 are grammatically correct. But in casual conversation, many people would choose lets. In a company handbook, allows is probably the best choice. In a legal policy document, permits may be the preferred option.
Before we finish this section, here's a simple 3-step tip to help you remember everything we've learned. First, think about who you're talking to. Friends and family usually mean let. Second, think about where you are. School, work, or business conversations often use allow. Third, think about how formal the situation is. Rules, official notices, and legal documents often use permit.
That's a great memory trick. Now it's your turn to practice. Write 3 sentences in the comments. 1 sentence using let, 1 using allow, and 1 using permit. Try to make each sentence fit a different situation. The more you practice creating your own examples, the faster these patterns will become part of your everyday English.
Excellent work so far. We've gone beyond the grammar and explored how native speakers choose these words in real-life situations. Remember, sounding natural isn't about using the biggest word. It's about choosing the word that fits the moment. In the next section, we'll explore even more practical uses, including polite requests, tone, and everyday conversation strategies that will make your English sound even more fluent.
So far, we've talked about grammar and formality. Now let's take things one step further and focus on how allow, let, and permit help you sound polite, friendly, and confident in real conversations. This is where many learners start sounding much more like native speakers, because they learn to match their words with the situation.
Exactly. Imagine you're talking to your boss, your best friend, your neighbor, and a police officer. Even if you're asking about the same thing, you probably won't use exactly the same words. Native speakers naturally adjust their language depending on who they're speaking with.
Let's start with a simple example. Your friend asks, "Can I sit here?" You'd probably smile and say, "Yeah, go ahead." Or, "Sure, I'll let you sit here." That sounds warm and friendly.
Now imagine you're working at a hotel. A guest asks, "Can I check in a little early?" You might answer, "We'll allow early check-in if your room is ready." That sounds polite and professional.
Exactly. Now imagine you're reading a notice at the front desk. It might say, "Early check-in is permitted based on room availability." Notice how the sign uses permitted, not let. Signs and official notices almost always sound more formal.
Here's another real-life situation. You're babysitting your little cousin. He asks, "Can I have another cookie?" You might say, "I'll let you have one more." That's a perfectly natural response.
But if you're a nutrition teacher speaking to parents, you might say, "We don't allow sugary snacks during class." Different audience, different tone.
And if you're reading school regulations, you might see, "Outside food isn't permitted in science laboratories." Again, that's formal written English.
Let's talk about something learners ask us all the time. Can allow and let always replace each other? The answer is, not always. In many situations they can. For example, my parents let me stay out late. My parents allowed me to stay out late. Both are correct. The first one simply sounds more conversational.
But there are also expressions where native speakers almost always choose let. For example, "Let me help you." You wouldn't normally say, "Allow me to help you." Well, actually you can say that, but it sounds much more formal. You might hear it at a fancy restaurant or in a very polite situation.
Exactly. Imagine someone drops a heavy box. Your friend immediately says, "Let me help you." That's natural. Now picture an employee at a luxury hotel. "Allow me to carry your luggage." That sounds elegant and professional. Both are correct. The setting changes everything.
Here's another common expression. "Let me see." Native speakers say this all the time. Someone asks, "Do you remember his phone number?" You answer, "Let me see." You're simply taking a moment to think.
You also hear, "Let me check," "Let me think," "Let me explain," "Let me ask," "Let me try." These expressions are incredibly common in everyday American English. If you memorize them, your conversations will immediately sound more natural.
Notice something interesting. Nobody normally says, allow me check. That's incorrect because allow needs to. You could say, allow me to explain. But again, it sounds much more formal than, let me explain.
Here's a fun comparison. Imagine you're at a coffee shop. Your friend says, can I pay for your coffee? You reply, no, let me get this. That's an expression Americans use all the time. It means, I'll pay.
If someone said, allow me to purchase your beverage, people would probably smile because it sounds unusually formal for buying coffee with a friend.
Language isn't only about being correct. It's about sounding natural in the moment. That's one of the biggest goals here on Fluent English.
Let's practice with a few conversations. I'll start. Excuse me, may I use your phone charger?
Sure, I'll let you use it.
Nice and casual, here's another one. Can employees leave early on Fridays?
Yes, the company allows employees to leave an hour early during the summer.
Perfect, now one more. May visitors enter this area?
Visitors aren't permitted beyond this point.
Great, each answer matches the situation perfectly.
Let's talk about politeness. Sometimes learners worry that let sounds too direct. Actually, in friendly conversations, it's exactly what native speakers expect. For example, my parents let us stay for dinner. My coach let me practice with the team. My neighbor let me borrow his ladder. These all sound completely natural.
On the other hand, if you're writing an email to customers, allow often sounds more professional. For example, our website allows customers to update their account information online. That's clear, friendly, and businesslike.
Here's another example. Imagine you're explaining how an app works. You could say, this app lets you book flights in just a few minutes. Or, this app allows users to book flights online. Both are correct. The first one sounds conversational. The second sounds like marketing or product information.
Let's give everyone a quick speaking challenge. I'll describe a situation, pause for a second and say your answer out loud before we reveal it. Situation 1, you're talking to your younger brother. He asks if he can play your video game. What would you say? Hopefully something like, I'll let you play after dinner.
Situation 2, you're the manager of a gym. A customer asks whether children can use the swimming pool. A natural answer could be, we allow children in the pool when they're with an adult.
Situation 3, you're reading the rules inside a library. The sign says food and drinks aren't permitted. Exactly what we'd expect.
Here's another helpful tip. Listen for these words in different places. Movies usually use lots of let because conversations are casual. Business presentations often use allow. Signs, announcements, and legal documents often use permit. When you notice these patterns, you'll start predicting which word comes next before the speaker even says it.
That's a fantastic exercise. You can even pause a movie and ask yourself, what word would I choose here? Then compare your answer with what the character actually says.
Now let's do a quick interactive practice together. I'll start a sentence and you finish it out loud. My parents let me, maybe you said, stay at my friend's house. Great, now this one. Our school allows students to, perhaps, use laptops during class. Excellent.
One last one, the museum doesn't permit. You could finish it with flash photography, food and drinks, large backpacks, all of those work perfectly.
Before we finish this section, I want to share 3 simple tips that will help you every single day. First, don't automatically choose the longest word. Simple English often sounds the most natural. Second, pay attention to the situation. Friends, workplaces, and official rules all use different levels of formality. Third, practice speaking these patterns out loud instead of only reading them. Your mouth needs practice just as much as your brain does.
Those are excellent tips. Now here's a challenge for you. Think about your daily routine and create 3 original sentences. Use let for a conversation with a friend, allow for a workplace or school situation, and permit for a rule or official notice. Share your favorite sentence in the comments, and don't be afraid to make mistakes. Every sentence you create is another step toward speaking English with confidence. We've now explored how these verbs work in everyday situations, how they affect tone, and how native speakers choose them naturally. Next, we'll look at some of the most common mistakes learners make with allow, let, and permit, and we'll show you simple ways to avoid them forever.
Let's move on to one of my favorite parts of today's lesson, the mistakes section. Honestly, if you've ever mixed up allow, let, and permit, you're in great company. We've heard these mistakes from students all over the world, and we've even made some of them ourselves while learning other languages. So don't feel discouraged. Every mistake is simply another opportunity to improve.
That's exactly right. Native speakers don't expect learners to be perfect. What they appreciate is clear communication and the willingness to keep practicing. Today we're going to fix some of the most common mistakes so they don't become habits.
Let's start with mistake number 1. People often say, they allowed me go home. Can you hear what's missing? The word to. The correct sentence is, they allowed me to go home. Remember the pattern, allow plus person plus to plus verb. If you forget to, the sentence sounds incomplete.
Let's compare them side by side. Incorrect. They allowed me go. Correct. They allowed me to go. Incorrect. My teacher allowed us use our phones. Correct. My teacher allowed us to use our phones. Say the correct versions out loud with us. Repeating them helps your brain build the right habit.
Here's a little memory trick. Whenever you hear allow, imagine it's holding hands with to. They almost always travel together. If you remember that image, you'll catch yourself before making the mistake.
Now let's look at mistake number 2. Many learners accidentally add to after let. For example, my parents let me to stay out late. That's incorrect. After let we use the base verb. The correct sentence is my parents let me stay out late, no to.
Let's practice. Incorrect. My friend let me to borrow his bike. Correct. My friend let me borrow his bike. Incorrect. The coach let us to practice longer. Correct. The coach let us practice longer. Notice how much smoother the correct sentences sound.
Here's another memory trick. Let likes to keep things short. No extra to, just the verb, let me help, let me know, let me explain, simple and natural.
Mistake number 3 is choosing the wrong level of formality. Imagine you're talking with your brother. You say, I permit you to watch TV. Grammatically, that's correct. But does it sound natural? Not really. It sounds like you're a judge, making an official decision.
A native speaker would almost always say, I'll let you watch TV, or even sure you can watch TV. Those sound much warmer and more conversational.
On the other hand, imagine you're writing a company policy. If you write, we let employees park in this area. It's understandable, but allow sounds more professional. We allow employees to park in this area. That's the version most businesses would choose.
And if you're creating an official safety notice, permit may be the best option. Only authorized personnel are permitted to enter. That sounds exactly like something you'd see on a sign.
So here's the lesson. Don't just ask, is this grammatically correct? Also ask, does this sound natural in this situation? That's the question native speakers answer automatically.
Mistake number 4 is translating directly from your first language. Some languages use one word for every kind of permission. English doesn't. Instead, we choose different words depending on the situation. That's why translating word for word can sometimes create sentences that sound unusual.
Here's a funny example. Imagine your friend asks, can I borrow your pen? You reply, I permit you. People will understand you, but they might smile because it sounds much more serious than the situation requires. A natural answer would be, sure, go ahead, of course, or I'll let you use it.
Here's another one that makes me laugh. Imagine you're having dinner with friends. Someone asks, can I sit here? And you answer, I permit you to occupy this chair. Everyone knows what you mean, but it sounds like you're acting in a movie about kings and queens.
Exactly. English is full of moments where simple language sounds the most natural. That's why learning real conversations is so important.
Let's do a quick correction exercise. I'll read a sentence. You decide whether it's correct. Number 1, my parents allowed me to drive. Correct. Number 2, my parents let me to drive. Incorrect. Remove to. My parents let me drive.
Number 3, visitors aren't permitted to enter. Correct. Number 4, the teacher allowed us finish early. Incorrect. It should be, the teacher allowed us to finish early.
Excellent. Now let's make things a little more challenging. I'll say a casual sentence. You change it into a more formal one. Ready? My boss let me work from home. You could say, my boss allowed me to work from home. Or, my employer permitted me to work from home. Both are correct, but notice how the tone becomes more formal each time.
Now let's go in the opposite direction. Formal sentence. The restaurant doesn't permit outside beverages. How would you make it sound more conversational? Maybe, the restaurant doesn't allow outside drinks. Or if you're simply talking to a friend, they won't let you bring drinks inside. See how the meaning stays the same while the style changes.
That's one of the best skills you can develop. You're not memorizing one sentence. You're learning how to adjust your English depending on the situation. That's exactly what fluent speakers do every day.
Before we finish this section, here's something I want every learner to remember. Making mistakes doesn't mean you're bad at English. It means you're using English. And that's a good thing. Every fluent speaker you admire has made thousands of mistakes while learning something new.
Absolutely, so don't be afraid to speak. Don't wait until every sentence feels perfect. Use these patterns in your daily conversations, correct yourself when needed, and keep moving forward. The more you practice, the more natural these choices will become.
We'd love to hear from you now. Which mistake surprised you the most today? Was it forgetting to after allow, adding to after let, or using permit in situations that are too casual? Write your answer in the comments, along with one correct sentence of your own. It's one of the best ways to remember what you've learned.
Fantastic work! You've just corrected some of the biggest mistakes English learners make with allow, let, and permit. In our final activity, we'll put everything together with a fun, choose the correct sentence challenge so you can test yourself and build confidence before using these expressions in real conversations.
It's time for our final practice activity, and this is where everything comes together. Instead of simply listening, we want you to think, choose, and speak. Imagine you're in each situation, say your answer out loud, and then compare it with ours. Remember, speaking is one of the fastest ways to build confidence.
Exactly, don't just listen to us. Pause for a moment if you need to, make your choice, and then continue. Even if you make a mistake, that's completely okay. Every sentence you say helps you become a more confident English speaker.
Situation number 1. You're talking to your best friend. Your friend asks, "Can I borrow your jacket?" Which answer sounds more natural? Option A, "I permit you to borrow it." Option B, "I'll let you borrow it." Take a second and choose.
The best answer is option B, I'll let you borrow it. Why? Because you're having a casual conversation with a friend. Native speakers almost always choose let in situations like this.
Of course, permit isn't grammatically wrong, but it sounds much too formal for borrowing a jacket from a friend. Now let's make it a little different. Instead of saying, "I'll let you borrow it," you could also say, "Sure, go ahead." Of course. No problem. Those are all natural responses you'll hear every day.
Situation number 2, you're reading a company handbook. Which sentence sounds more appropriate? Option A, the company lets employees work remotely. Option B, the company allows employees to work remotely. Think about it.
The better answer is option B. The company allows employees to work remotely. Company handbooks, policies, and official documents usually use allow because it sounds professional without being overly formal.
In everyday conversation, an employee might still say, "My company lets me work from home on Fridays." Notice how both are correct, but each fits a different context.
Situation number 3. You're reading a sign outside a laboratory. Option A, "Food isn't permitted inside." Option B, "Food isn't let inside." Which one works?
The correct answer is option A, food isn't permitted inside. We never say, food isn't let inside. For official rules and public signs, permitted is the natural choice.
Situation number 4. A teacher is talking to students. Which sentence sounds better? Option A, "I'll let you leave 5 minutes early today." Option B, "I'll permit you to leave 5 minutes early today."
Both are grammatically correct, but option A sounds much more natural in everyday speech. Teachers often say, "I'll let you leave early." It's friendly, simple, and conversational.
Situation number 5. You're talking about a mobile app. Which sentence sounds more like everyday conversation? Option A, "This app lets you edit photos." Option B, "This app permits users to edit photographs."
For a conversation with friends, option A wins. This app lets you edit photos. If you were writing a product manual or technical guide, allows would probably be a better choice than permits.
Great job. Now let's try something a little more challenging. I'm going to describe a situation, and instead of choosing between two answers, create your own sentence. Ready? You're asking your friend for help moving a heavy table. How would you naturally begin? Maybe, "Can you let me?" Or perhaps, "Can you help me?" There are several good answers. The important thing is using natural English.
Here's another one. Imagine you're explaining your school's rules to a new student. How could you use allow? Maybe you said, "Our school allows students to join different clubs." Or, "We don't allow phones during exams." Excellent.
One more, you're reading a notice in a museum. Create a sentence using permit. Perhaps, "Flash photography isn't permitted." Or, "Food and drinks aren't permitted in the gallery." Perfect examples.
Here's something we want you to practice after this episode. Look around your house or workplace and think about 5 real situations. For each one, ask yourself, would I naturally use let, allow, or permit here? This kind of practice helps you connect grammar with real life.
That's such an effective exercise because language isn't something you memorize once. It's something you notice, practice, and use every day. The more you connect English to your own experiences, the faster you'll remember it.
Another great habit is listening carefully to native speakers. When you're watching a movie, a TV show, or a YouTube video, pay attention every time someone uses let, allow, or permit. Ask yourself why they chose that word. Over time, you'll begin making those same choices naturally.
We'd also love to give you one final speaking challenge. Create 3 original sentences, one with let, one with allow, and one with permit. Say them out loud first, then write them in the comments. Reading, speaking, and writing together is one of the most powerful ways to improve your English.
Don't worry if your sentences aren't perfect. Communication comes before perfection. Every time you practice, you're building stronger habits and becoming a more confident English speaker.
What an amazing lesson! Today we've covered a lot, and if you've stayed with us until now, you've already taken a big step towards sounding more natural in English. Remember, these 3 verbs may look similar, but choosing the right one makes your conversations smoother, clearer, and more like the way native speakers actually communicate.
Let's quickly review the 3 main ideas. First, let is the everyday, casual choice you'll hear in conversations with friends, family, and coworkers. Second, allow is more neutral and professional, making it perfect for schools, workplaces, websites, and business communication. Third, permit is the most formal and is commonly used in official notices, rules, policies, and legal language.
Don't try to memorize hundreds of grammar rules overnight. Instead, focus on noticing these words in real conversations and using them in your own daily life. The more you practice, the more natural your English will become. Every conversation, every comment, and every sentence you create is another step toward fluency.
Before you go, we'd love to hear from you. Which of the 3 verbs do you think you'll use the most this week? Let, allow, or permit? Write your answer in the comments along with your own example sentence. We really enjoy reading your comments, and they help us choose future lesson topics.
If today's lesson helped you, please give this video a thumbs up, share it with another English learner, and subscribe to Fluent English for more practical lessons that help you speak naturally in everyday situations. We're here to make English easier, friendlier, and more enjoyable every single week.
Thanks so much for spending your time learning with us today. Keep practicing, keep speaking, and remember that every mistake brings you one step closer to fluency. Believe in yourself, enjoy the learning process, and never stop using your English. Until our next lesson, take care, keep speaking with confidence, and see you next time.